Welcome to Informatica Cloud 101 on-demand course. In this module, I'm going to cover some of the other transformations available to you in the Mapping Designer. After completing this module, you will be able to use a joiner, expression, and lookup transformations in a mapping. You will also be able to create field rules and rename fields to improve performance and avoid naming conflicts. And you will also be able to validate and test a mapping. Let us first talk about the joiner transformation. The joiner transformation lets you join two related heterogeneous sources, and those sources can reside in different source systems. For example, you could join together data from the Salesforce account object and data from customers' database table. The joiner joins data based on a join condition or multiple join conditions that you define. It does perform an inner join, so the results are rows from both sources that match all of the conditions. Source rows that do not match the join conditions are dropped from the data flow. When you connect a source to a joiner transformation, you must specify whether the source will be the master or the detail group. The best practice is that you should connect the source with smaller data set to the master group. If you need to connect more than two sources in a mapping, you will need to use multiple joiner transformations. This is because you can only join two sources at a time to a joiner. Field name conflicts can occur when you join sources with matching field names. So there are a few things you can do. Like you can rename matching fields in an upstream transformation. You can also rename them in the source transformation, or you can pass data through an expression transformation and rename the fields there. I will talk more about renaming fields and field rules later in this module. As I just mentioned that you can use an expression transformation to rename fields. So let's talk about what the expression transformation does. The expression transformation allows you to create new fields within the mapping. When you create a new field, you specify the field name, type, precision, and scale. The expression transformation allows the creation of two types of fields, an expression field and a variable field. An expression field defines the calculations to be performed on an incoming field and also acts as the output field for results. You can then use the field in the data flow. You can use as many expression fields as necessary to perform calculations on incoming fields. A variable field is used to hold a variable to be used within the expression or in other expression transformations within the mapping. Note that a variable field will not be available for use downstream in the data flow. The expression transformation has many uses. Some examples would be that you can perform non-aggregate calculations, such as adjusting bonus percentages or calculating tax rates. You can also concatenate or split incoming field values. For example, first and last names. You can also use an expression transformation to insert a hard-coded value into a field. The last transformation that I want to discuss in this module is the lookup transformation. The lookup transformation retrieves data from a lookup object based on a condition that you define. When you configure lookup transformation, there are several options you must configure. First, you must select the lookup connection and object. In addition, you must specify how you want the lookup to behave if multiple matches are found. For example, you can choose to return any row that matches, or return the first row, or just the last row, or report an error, and so on. Next, you will configure the lookup condition or how you wish to match incoming rows to rows in the lookup object. Finally, you will specify the field or fields you wish to return. Now that we have covered the basic set of transformations that can be used to build a mapping, let us now discuss how you control the flow of fields into a transformation. Field rules allow you to define how data enters a transformation from the previous or upstream transformation. By default, if you don't define any field rules in your mapping, then all fields are going to be included. So all fields from the upstream data flow will be included and will be available. You can define field rules on all transformations, with the exception of the source transformation because that is always at the start of the mapping. If you define more than one field rule, the rules will be evaluated in a specific order. For example, if you want to include all incoming fields except those with dates, what you could do is use the default field rule that includes all fields. Then you would create a second field rule that excludes fields by data type and that data type being set to date or time. When you configure field rules, you can also specify that included fields must be renamed, either individually or in bulk. You can do this to avoid naming conflicts, or it can also be helpful in clarifying field origin, depending on how complex your mapping is. Remember that field name conflicts will propagate all the way through the data flow. If you get a field naming conflict error, rename fields before the transformation where the error occurs. If you choose to rename fields in bulk, you have three options. You can add a prefix, a suffix, or you can use a pattern for renaming. Using the bulk rename can be helpful in situations when you are bringing data into the mapping from multiple sources. For example, you can use a bulk rename in a prefix so that the naming conflicts are avoided, and the original source of all fields is easily identified. When you create a field rule, you will select the operator, either include or exclude. Next, you must specify the selection criteria for fields. The All Fields option allows you to include or exclude all fields. You can also rename all fields in bulk. The Named Fields option allows you to include or exclude specific fields. You can also create parameters to represent fields. When you select this option, you can also rename fields individually or in bulk. The Fields by Data Types option. The Fields by Data Types option allows you to include or exclude fields of a selected data type. This option also allows you to rename fields in bulk. The last option, Fields by Text or Pattern, allows you to include or exclude fields based on a prefix, suffix, or pattern. The pattern can also be a parameter, allowing you to make the mapping more flexible. With this option, you can also rename fields in bulk as well. Now let us talk about some best practices for using the Mapping Designer and build mappings. When building mappings, you should create a single data flow between sources and targets and avoid using parallel data flows in a mapping. You should also make sure that all your transformations are connected to the data flow. Any heterogeneous sources should be joined using a joiner transformation. Also, architecture mapping so that the field naming conflicts are resolved before data comes into a transformation. If you use a parameter for an object, you must use parameters for all conditions or field mappings in the data flow. In this demonstration, I will combine order data from the table in SQL Server with account data from Salesforce. To do this, I will need to use a joiner transformation. I will also need to look up the price in a separate SQL Server table, the products table. Finally, I will use an expression transformation to calculate an order total, and will then write records to two separate flat files to be passed to a fulfillment system for expedited and standard shipping. In this demo, we will add a joiner transformation, expression transformation, and a lookup transformation to a mapping. We will also configure the field rules for a mapping. Log in to the Informatica Intelligent Cloud Services and select the Data Integration Service. To create a new asset, click New on the navigation pane. Click Mappings on the left side of the New Asset window. Select the Mapping option and click the Create button. The mapping page appears. We see that a source and a target are already present on the mapping canvas. Enter the name of the mapping and select the New Source transformation. In the General Properties section, for the name field, enter SO Salesforce account. In the Source Properties pane, click Source and select the Salesforce connection. Keep the source type as single object and click the Select button to select the source object. From the Select Source Object window, select Account and click OK. Click Save to save the mapping. Now add another source to the mapping. Drag and drop the source transformation from the list of available transformations onto the canvas. In the General Properties section, for the name field, enter SO orders. In the Source Properties pane, click Source, and select the local CSV file connection from the Connection drop-down. Keep the source type as single object, and click the Select button to select the source object. From the Select Source Object window, select Orders and click OK. Click the link joining the source transformation SO Salesforce account and the target transformation New Target, and click the bin icon. Drag and drop the joiner transformation from the list of available transformations onto the canvas, and click the plus icon to expand the joiner. Click SO Salesforce account to the joiner master operator, and SO orders to the joiner detail operator. In the joiner properties pane, under General Properties, enter the name as Joiner Account Orders. To avoid any naming conflicts in case of fields with similar name, we will add a prefix to the fields in the detail table. Click Incoming Fields on the Joiner Properties pane, and click the Rename option in the Details field. From the Bulk Rename Options drop-down, select Prefix. Specify the prefix as SO_, and click OK. In the Joiner Properties pane, click Join Condition and keep the join type set to normal and join condition set to simple. To add a new join condition on the right side of the Properties pane, click the plus icon and enter the join condition as shown on the screen. To save the mapping, click Save. Now we will add a lookup transformation to the mapping. Drag and drop the lookup transformation from the list of available transformations onto the canvas, and link the joiner transformation Joiner Account Orders to the lookup transformation New Lookup. In the Lookup Properties pane, under General Properties, enter the name as Lookup Products. In the Lookup Properties pane, click Lookup Object and select the SQL Server connection from the Connection drop-down. Keep the source type as single object and click the Select button to select the source object. From the appeared Select Source Object window, select the Products table and click OK. Click Save to save the mapping. In the Lookup Properties pane, click Lookup Condition and keep the lookup condition set to simple. To add a new lookup condition, click the plus icon. Enter the lookup condition as shown on the screen, click Save to save the mapping. Now we will add an expression transformation to the mapping. Drag and drop the expression transformation from the list of available transformations onto the canvas, and link the lookup transformation LKP Products to the expression transformation New Expression. To arrange all the transformation on the canvas, click the Arrange All icon. In the Expression Properties pane, under General Properties, enter the name as Expression Order Total. We must create two variable expressions in order to convert the incoming fields to integers before we can use them in the output field that will calculate the order total. In the Expression Properties pane, click Expression. Click the plus icon, specify the field properties as shown on the screen, and click OK. To add the expression for the field PPU, click Configure. In the Field Expression window, enter the expression as shown on the screen. To validate the expression, click Validate. As the expression is valid, click OK. To add a new field, again click the plus icon and specify the field properties as shown on the screen. Click OK. To add the expression for the field quantity, click Configure and enter the expression as shown on the screen. To validate the expression, click Validate. As the expression is valid, click OK. Now we will add an expression to determine the order total. Click the plus icon, specify the field properties as shown on the screen, and click OK. To add the expression for the field order total, click Configure. Enter the expression as shown on the screen and click Validate. As the expression is valid, click OK and click Save to save the mapping. Now drag and drop the filter transformation from the list of available transformations onto the canvas and link the expression transformation exp order total to the filter transformation new filter. In the Filter Properties pane, under General Properties, enter the name as FIL Expedited Order. In the Filter Properties pane, click Filter and keep the filter condition set to Simple. To add a new filter condition in the right side of the Properties pane, click the plus icon. Enter the filter condition as shown on the screen. To save the mapping, click Save. Now to configure a target in the mapping, link the filter transformation FIL Expedited Order to Target Transformation New Target. Select the Target Transformation New Target and enter the name as TG Expedited Shipping. In the Target Properties pane, click Target and select Local CSV File Connection from the Connection drop-down. Keep the target type as single object and click the Select button to select the target object. From the Target Object window, select Expedited Shipping.csv and click OK. In the Target Properties pane, click Field Mapping. To match the fields automatically, click the Auto Match button and map the remaining fields as shown on the screen. To save the mapping, click Save. Now we will add another filter to the mapping. Drag and drop the filter transformation from the list of available transformations onto the canvas and link the expression transformation exp order total to the filter transformation new filter. In the Filter Properties pane, under General Properties, enter the filter name as FIL Normal Shipping. In the Filter Properties pane, click Filter and keep the filter condition set to Simple. To add a new filter condition, on the right side of the Properties pane, click the plus sign. Enter the filter condition as shown on the screen. To save the mapping, click Save. Now drag and drop the target transformation from the list of available transformations onto the canvas. Link the filter transformation FIL Normal Shipping to the target transformation New Target. Select the target transformation New Target and enter the name as TG Normal Shipping. In the Target Properties pane, click Target and select the local CSV file connection from the Connection drop-down. Keep the target type as single object and click the Select button to select the target object. From the Target Object window, select Normal Shipping.csv and click OK. In the Target Properties pane, click Field Mapping. Click the Auto Match button to match the fields automatically and map the remaining fields as shown on the screen. To save the mapping, click Save. When we save the mapping status is automatically displayed next to the mapping name. As the mapping is valid, click Run to run the mapping. Select the active secure agent group from the Runtime Environment drop-down and click Run. To verify whether the task has executed successfully, open the expedited shipping.csv. We see that our records with order total greater than or equal to 1500 are written to this file. Now we open the normal shipping.csv file. We see that our records with order total less than 1500 are written to this file. This concludes the demo. There is just one lab for this module. In this lab, you will create a mapping using the lookup and expression transformations. This concludes Module 12. This module showed you how to use the Mapping Designer to build a mapping. Use the mapping shape or transformation such as source, target, joiner, filter, expression, and lookup, and apply field rules and rename fields.